Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Soul and Screen. In this particular video, I will be doing a review on Tyler Perry's Sistas Season 9, Episode 19. Let's get into it. So in this particular episode, I'm going to pick up where Sabrina and Demany were having their conflict and their argument at the bank about her embryos. So previous video and episode, Demany had called Sabrina that the night before and told her basically he needed her to destroy her embryos, and she was like, no. So I guess he decided that he would come to her job and make a face-to-face plea and hoping that that would change her mind, although I'm not sure why he thought so, because me seeing you over the phone, seeing you in person and me hearing you say it over the phone ain't making it better. But he did. So he decided to come to her job, and he basically told her the same thing. I'm back with my fiance, like things has changed and stuff like that, and so I need you to destroy the embryos. And she told him, like, I'm not doing that. You signed over those embryos to me, so I'm not doing it. In the middle of her and him having their disagreement and their discussion, his fiance walks in and she's like, oh, this is her. And so she starts getting really disrespectful to Sabrina, talking about, Sabrina, she real thirsty and she needs to try to find her own man and that kind of stuff. And then Rich kind of comes in and sees what's going on, and he was like, oh, so Demany, because Sabrina didn't want you, now you want to try to renege on giving your specimen, and so they all get into it. They're all arguing with each other and stuff. And so basically old girl tells Sabrina, tells Rich, well, anyway, he upgraded, because when he said that, she dumped you basically, or Sabrina didn't want you, so now you over here trying to renege. And then the Nia, I believe her name is like, oh, that's because he upgraded. And then Sabrina was like, no, he didn't upgrade. And they just kind of got into some kind of I don't know, I don't want to say it's childish, but very, very just immature banter back and forth with each other, calling each other, like sloppy seconds and all this kind of stuff. And it was just, I wish they would have been able to have a more adult disagreement than that, but it turned into that. And so eventually they end up leaving, because it gets into an altercation to the point where Demany and Rich start pushing each other. And so Sabrina, pulls Rich away and was like, please stop. And so same with homegirl, she was trying to calm Demany down, and they end up leaving and basically say, we'll talk to you in court. That's what we got to do. And Sabrina was like, fine. So they leave. Rich stays and he's talking to Sabrina, and he's just like, Sabrina, I really want to talk to you. And she's just like, Rich, we don't have nothing to talk about. Just stop. Enough is enough. And so he was just like, really? And she's like, yeah, we don't have nothing to talk about. So he leaves. I'll stick with the Sabrina thing since we're there and finish that out. So in the process of that, Sabrina goes over to the law office to talk to Andy and seek some counsel because of what just happened. When she gets there, the receptionist basically tells her that Andy is in, meetings with all day and just won't be available for her. So she goes, oh, well, can I speak to Fatima? So the receptionist calls Fatima. Fatima's like, yep, send her back. So she goes back, and Fatima's like, hey, what's up? She's like, hey, I know I came to talk to Andy, but they told me that Andy's busy all day. And so Fatima goes, yeah, she's actually meeting with Karen and all the other ladies, getting their testimony and, their witness accounts and things like that on the situation with the doctor. And so she was like, oh, okay. And she was like, but, how can I help you? And so Sabrina sits down and she goes, this is kind of embarrassing, and so she explains to her that, Demany was her sperm donor for her IVF process. And, now he's coming back saying that he wants the eggs, and his fiance is like spearheading everything. And so she's telling Fatima everything. And so Fatima's like, okay, so Fatima first tells her, first of all, I don't really have a lot of experience in this, but just tell me a little bit more about the story and I can see how I can help. So she's telling her, so she's like, well, how did you meet the dude? This is Fatima asking questions. And so Sabrina's like, well, he worked with me. And so, okay, Fatima's like, okay, cool. So she's getting the story and she finds out that, okay, so it may be something I could do. So she actually calls Demany. And huge is the team a moment for those of us who are fans of the couple, because when she calls Demany, she actually introduces herself for the first time as Mrs. Taylor. She doesn't say Fatima, she doesn't say Wilson Taylor, she says Taylor. Now, the reason this is a big thing is because Zach has been calling Fatima his wife forever. Like, I don't even remember. I think it started for sure in season 7, but it could have been season 6, but he has been referencing Fatima as his wife to other people for so long I can't even remember what season it started in. But Fatima has not. She's always still like, we're getting married, and still very much so understood, like let there be known that there's an understanding that we still engage, like she would talk to him about, Fatima Wilson, Fatima Taylor does sound nice, and so that kind of stuff in season 8 when they were talking and stuff, but she's never called herself like his wife or even said that's my husband or anything. It's still like, talking as we still got finalization of this process to do before we start going there. But Zach is always calling and telling other people Fatima is his wife, to the point where his boys even say it, like over in Fatima, they like, your wife don't let you do nothing and this and this and this. And so anyway, with that being said, jumping back to this episode, this is Fatima's first time referencing herself as Mrs. Taylor, which definitely sounds like we're getting closer to a wedding. I would assume so, since she's now calling herself that. Or is it because now the baby is gone and now, she's ready to kind of really start thinking about the wedding because she's pregnant, right? And then now I don't have to tie myself to this Karen situation or anything like that anymore. And then this Michael stuff is going on. But the biggest issue for her was the Karen thing. So anyway, she introduces herself to Demany as Miss Taylor. And so she's going in and she's basically telling Demany, like, listen, I'm calling on behalf of my client, Sabrina, and I just want you to know that we will not accept this kind of behavior, basically. And she definitely lets him know a real and for sure situation is that you come into her job and calling this is a level of harassment, which she brought up, and it does create a hostile work environment. For those who may not know, that is absolutely a fireable offense, depending on how far it goes. So she definitely brings that fact to him and lets him know that if you continue to harass my client and coming up to her job and, trying to force her to do something that you've already signed, contracts about and things like that, then we will be, taking legal action. But we're also going to contact your company to let them know that you have created a hostile, she said harassment, but basically that's what it would be, a hostile work environment, because he literally came to her job and him and his fiance verbally assaulted her and attacked her about something that is absolutely personal. They should not have brought that into the workplace. And so Demany, this whole time has been letting his fiance pull the card and kind of control the conversation. Now, let me put a pin here, because Sabrina did say, like, to Fatima, I think it's his fiance. And I will say this, like, his fiance should have some say, but he also should be man enough to be able to, like, pump her brakes some. Like, I'm not saying you got to do what you got to do to make your woman comfortable and try to fix this. Like, that you got to do, because this is the woman you said you're going to marry and you want to be with. So I get trying to get things together and right. We always say that when it comes to Zach. Like, Zach had, if Fatima wanted to be like season 7, when she told Zach, like, when the test results came back and he was like, like us, like we going over there. She was like, as in us, because if I don't go, then you don't go, and we'll just find out in court. Like, that's the kind of stuff that happens, right? Like, and you expect those kind of chains to be pulled on each side where you're not doing this, and they do it to each other, right? Like, Zach told her, like, you're not going nowhere. You get in the house, and because you my woman, and you going in the house. So what she do? She went in the house. Like, they pull each other's chain on certain things, and that is what you do in employment relationship. So I'm not saying that, she, meaning Nia, does not have the right to tell Demany to try to fix this. It was the way that they did it. So coming up to Sabrina's job, cussing her out and trying to, disrespect her and being very disrespectful, again, in her place of employment. Because it's not like, they didn't come to her house. They didn't wait till she got off work or anything. They came to her job to do this. Is absolutely a reason that he could be in trouble. And so I was glad that Fatima actually told him that. And then he ended up showing a backbone at some point and telling his fiance, like, you're going to have to stop, because realizing that I can lose my job over this is for sure something. Like, as long as, so he basically told Fatima and Sabrina, as long as you understand and know that, I won't be having any type of parental responsibility with these kids, I'm good, and we'll just leave it as it is. And Sabrina basically was like, that's how it was supposed to be in the first place, so bye. So anyway, Fatima's conversation with him definitely proved to be successful for Sabrina, and so they were pumped up about that. And so let's move to, since we're at the law office, we'll stay with the law office kind of stuff that happened there. So in the other room, so to speak, what was going on is prior to Andy going into the conference room to meet with the ladies, they were first in the lobby area, and they all seen Dr. Cruz walk in. Andy was telling them, in the middle of telling them and explaining them what the day is going to be like. So we're going to go into the office, and I'm going to take some witness accounts. And while they're talking, Dr. Cruz walks up and he triggers literally everybody in that women's circle, and they are all triggered, and they're like, what is he doing here? And Karen is like, Andy, what's going on? You didn't tell us he was going to be here. I didn't know this. And so Andy was like, I didn't know he was going to be here either. And so they're all like asking for an explanation. And so Andy has to tell them that they are basically they meaning the law firm represents him. He's basically he's a client. And so of course the ladies are ticked off then, and they're like, what? Like, why wouldn't you, like, what do you have us here for then? Because if you guys are already representing him, what makes you think that we would tell you or think that you would help us in any type of a way? So now they feeling like, like this is kind of like a, just a game you playing, like, is you trying to shore up his side of the story or what? And so so the Dr. Cruz, he's waiting at the reception area, and he sees them all looking at him, and he turns to the back and he's like, oh, you look familiar to Karen. And she's like, I look familiar. And so while she's saying that, like, Hayden walks up, because Hayden, he's there to meet with Hayden. So Hayden walks up, and then he makes some reference to DEI, like, you got some DEI meeting going on here. And Hayden kind of like jokingly like laughs it off, which ticked me off, because Hayden, like, real talk, like, when you gonna get some backbone? Because Hayden is always going at other people. And this is why I say Hayden is kind of punkish, because Hayden is always going at people who like women. So he's very disrespectful to Fatima, Andy, you know what I'm saying? And then he only goes after men. Like, so he was going after Zach because he was trying to bait Zach, because if he could get Zach to beat him up, he was going to put Zach in jail. So he always goes after people who like have vulnerable spaces and spots that he can do, or a woman. But this man just came at you basically because he's talking to you. Hear me when I say this. If that DEI reference, although we are in a situation right now in society in America where we have come to know that there are statistics that show that when it comes to, so to speak, DEI stuff, that Black people and Black women, we are not necessarily the ones that benefit from that particular tag, so to speak, more so than other races or anything, that it doesn't benefit us in that way that they think that. And so while he was disrespecting them, he was disrespecting Hayden as well, because DEI is connected to, supposedly, from a thought process about Black people in general. And so you a Black man, and he basically talking about this being a DEI conference, and you just laugh it off and then take him to your office and help him. I was just like, and didn't say nothing. Like, So anyway, that's another reason why I have issues having respect for Hayden, is because he just don't have a backbone when you need it. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, so Andy does get the ladies in the conference room, and Mr. Benson comes in, and he basically tells the ladies, like, listen, so I'm gonna listen to you guys' stories and things like that, just to kind of see where we fall, like, but I just want you to understand that just because we're doing this, just because I'm listening, doesn't mean that we're going to take on your case, basically. And so Andy tells him, like, they know that Mr. Benson, anyway, she gets the ladies on camera giving their account to their experience with Dr. Cruz being over their care and their treatment while they were in the process of giving birth. All these women lost a child as a result of his neglect. And so that's what this whole meeting is about. And so they're all telling their individual stories. There was one comment, one part of the scene where Andy, I believe for the most part, was really kind of just explaining so that just to kind of put and educate some, I would say the fan base and the audience to some of the stuff when it comes to Black women and maternal health and stuff like that. Because as an attorney, as she started kind of leading, I feel like they probably would have said that, like, you kind of leading the witness, like you putting words in her mouth, because some of the stuff she wasn't saying, and you know what I'm saying? And so I think that was more so for television purposes, to get the information out there, but not give, and then give, the character who's supposed to be bringing this up a little bit more meat to, in lines and things like that, because I don't know as an attorney if she could do that. I think that's like really, again, her putting words in her mouth when she was kind of explaining like the way that she felt and stuff like that when it came to I forgot which one it was, but it was after one of the ladies were speaking. She really kind of went into detail about how they felt and things like that, and Mr. Benson was kind of like, that's unusual, right? And then she kind of just went into it. So for those who've seen the episode, you probably know what scene I'm talking about, or which part where Andy really began to expound on the women's experience, but you didn't go through it. So that's what I'm saying. Like, that would really be you putting words in their mouth and leading the conversation instead of letting them tell you what they felt, how they felt, what they experienced, and things like that. So I think that part was definitely some creative license that happened in the episode, but it was good. It was written well. So anyway, with that being said, so after they all go and give their testimony, Benson definitely, Mr. Benson does say that, this is the kind of case that we should take. And hearing all this, he basically was like, I'm just like shocked, and there's no way that I can even, still like keep him as a client. He was like, my wife would turn over in her grave if she knew that I was still representing somebody like this and not taking on this type of a case. So basically, Andy did get what she wanted, which was him to change his mind. So Mr. Benson did say that he was going to take them on and they can do a class action suit, and that he was actually literally getting ready to go out and put Dr. Cruz out of the office now. Like, he didn't even want him in the building no more. So he goes and to get ready to get them to get him kicked out of the building. And so the ladies are all leaving, and they end up running into Fatima and Sabrina, where they are like congratulating each other, and she's like, oh, I heard about what's going on. Sabrina's telling Andy's like, what you doing here? And she's like, oh, I had some stuff to go over, but we'll talk about it later. Like, so they like kind of hug it out, and, she sees Karen and everything. And then, the ladies are sitting like on the outside of the conference room, and Andy looks over at Fatima, and she was just like, thank you all. And she goes, Fatima, I honestly couldn't have done any of this without you. Thank you so much. And she told Fatima, like, if I ever treat you like you don't know what you're doing ever again, please, like, let me know, because you basically, did your thing on this. And so Fatima was like, gotcha, I will. And as they're all sitting there, like hugging each other and just being excited about being able to file this class action suit, they look over and they see that Mr. Benson is having Dr. Cruz kicked out of the building, and Dr. Cruz is having a fit, like, do you know who I am? And this and this and this. And he's just going off. And for some reason, they had, Karen go over there and say her stuff. And I don't know. I don't think that was actually necessary to me. But I think that's, once again, part of their whole redemption story, and Karen leaving on a good note kind of a thing. So at this point, I'm just over it. Like, just do what y'all got to do to give y'all, as some writers, apparently, of Karen lovers, some high moments to end on, because they're forced for us, but whatever. So anyway, that's them. Let's see, the Danny situation. So Danny is at work, and the HR lady walks up to her basically and tells her, I need to talk to you. And she goes, y'all about to cut my hours again? Because listen, like, I already got them cut some. Like, I need full-time job. And so she goes, well, basically, since, I want to take you in my job, in the office to tell you what's going on with the job. But since you bringing it up out here, we are going to have to let you go. And so, of course, Danny is ticked. She starts going off like, I'm the best worker. And the HR lady looked at her and she was like, well, I'm just a good worker all the years that I put in. And so, and you guys are going to do this to me. And so the HR lady basically like, well, in all honesty, Danny, like, you come to late work. And she just kind of started reading a whole bunch of different stuff off that she apparently never really called her on. But then, and I'm okay with that to an extent, because here's what I say, you HR, so that's your bad if you let it slide. Like, you decided to let it slide. Like, but then here's the other part. Then she starts talking about, the fact that you be vaping at work, and that you was sleeping with the job at the with your boss, and you threw coffee on this person's, that kind of stuff. So here's what the problem is with this. That's actually retaliation. The fact that Danny had already filed a claim and won a case because of the discrimination that they showed her during that whole process with her and Tony, and then for the HR lady to bring that up in this situation, Danny might be able to get also a retaliation case going, which would bring in some more money. It'd be interesting to find out if the writers are going to go that way, or are they just going to let it slide? Because if Danny were to tell Andy, or even bring that up to Fatima, they probably will be able to inform her that we can go for a retaliation and see. Because the HR lady should not have brought any of that up. She could bring up the other stuff, but again, that's your fault that you didn't fire her before. But basically, she was just telling kind of like, Danny, like, we was giving you some grace because we didn't fire you when you was on the job vaping. We wouldn't fire you when you was doing all this kind of stuff, and that's fine. As soon as she crossed into the stuff that was brought up in the case that she brought against them, that is then at that point a retaliation, and she can absolutely get some more money and sue, and it may help with this next possible project that she has coming up. So let's talk about that. So after Danny gets let go, she ends up at at Karen's salon talking to Pam and Maurice, which I have no idea why, because in all honesty, in the past seasons and episodes, she don't really get along with neither one of them. So, and she knew Karen wasn't there, so I don't know why she was there. But anyway, she was there, and Pam actually was given like Maurice like an edge up, I guess, or like trying to, give him a line up or something like that. And so they're talking, and so they all end up talking about, Karen's going away, a little bash that she's trying to get together that she's having. And at the same time, like, just really kind of talking about, what they would like better. It would be nice if the salon did this, that, they're talking about route to riches and how Pam's going to proceed and move on, and, possibly taking on the salon, but how they would like certain improvements and stuff, because Maurice was like, he liked, being there versus at the actual like barbershop and stuff like that. And then Danny ended up saying, kind of chiming in on the conversation, was like, it would be nice if it was everything here, meaning that you can get your hair done and your nails and your, like a whole spa situation. And so they all ended up kind of like, oh yeah, like that's cool. Like maybe we should do this. And so they started thinking about, brainstorming, should we go into business with one another and stuff like that. So here's where the money from the other proceeding could come in with Danny. She already got some money and they apparently know about it. And so they was like, yeah, you already got that money from it. But in all honesty, if they were to hit for retaliation, she might be able to get some more. And it would be, good for her to have her own business and stuff. Here's my issue with this situation is all three of them is they not necessarily a responsible bunch of people. Like Pam is responsible when it comes to roots to riches because that's her baby, right? You know what I'm saying? Like she brought that up, so she's very on it with that. But she didn't do good recently with managing the store and trying to, the shop and keeping things together. And then definitely when you go back to season 6 when all that stuff, 5 and 6 when that stuff was going on with Karen, it was season 5, sorry, when Karen was like grounded and her mom made her stay at home and stuff, like she was doing okay with, locking up the place and stuff, but she wasn't turning off the curling iron, that kind of stuff. And the place ended up burning down. Like, again, they never necessarily pinned it on on Pam, but she just wasn't good at remembering to turn off the curling irons and stuff like that, because in all honesty, while she didn't start the fire, apparently like when she sent a picture to Karen, the lights were still on, so the curling irons didn't go off. So what I'm saying is she's still not necessarily responsible enough for that. Now Maurice is one that goes off and is very rude to customers at the bank. So you know what I'm saying? So like owning a salon is very customer service oriented, you know what I'm saying? Like that kind of stuff. Like he, is always rude. Like they brought that up when they let him go from the bank and he wanted to come back, is because he's rude to the customers. He's not even exactly really nice to a lot of the staff, just very over the top with certain things. And then Danny, literally the HR lady just read her card. You late for work, you be smoking at work. Like, you know what I'm saying? So do you guys need to form a business with each other? And if so, who gonna manage it? Because you guys, right now, I'm not seeing any kind of leadership qualities when it comes to doing a business. So I would be careful about that. And that's just me. Next thing would be the Mr. Keys and Zach moment. So apparently when Zach was meeting with Mr. Keys about finding out about his dad, maybe a conversation happened about his mentorship program, and Zach must have made reference of stopping by. So we pick up where Zach goes to meet Mr. Keys there at some type of a football field. And he's telling him that, they do some coaching and some mentorship. I don't know if he actually specified if it was like high school or college or anything like that, but he just said that they, mentor this group of young men and they do play football. And Zach and him had a moment because apparently they both were really good at football. And, coming in to mentor and things. And that is another reason why people are also thinking that maybe this man is actually Zach's dad. I'm going to say this. I still think maybe it's maybe like an uncle or something. I don't know if it's going to go well for him if he is Zach's dad, because instead of just coming at him and telling him I'm your dad, or, even after he introduced him and just like now they have a rapport, like the longer you wait to tell this man that you his dad, I don't think that's going to end well for you. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be interesting to see how the writers do with that. Like, is he truly Zach's dad, or is he a relative, like I think, or somebody, or really just a friend that he presents that wants to be cool with him, so looking forward to seeing that. But Zach actually did tell him that he was interested in doing some mentorship, but at the same time, he just got a lot going on and he needs to think to see if he has time. And I am glad that Zach did that and took that time to mature. It shows another level of maturity that he's doing, because one, he has a baby on the way. He's getting ready to get married, whenever that happens, whatever's going on still with Michael and Sisters, he's still a part of it. It just sounds like that they alternate weekends at this point still. You know what I'm saying? His business, he just got his money back from Gary, or some of it. And then his business, we don't still know what's going on with that. You know what I'm saying? So he got a lot going on. So to pull from his schedule to do some mentorship, not that it's not important. I think it's timing. And so he needs to figure out how much time he can put into that. And, if he can do that with what's going on with Fatima. Fatima's still really at the beginning of her pregnancy. I'm thinking maybe the 3rd month or something like that. But, things start changing as you get into different parts of the your trimesters and stuff like that. So I thought it was good that he at least told Mr. Keys, let me think about it. And so I like that part. So anyway, that's pretty much the episode. I thought it was a really decent episode, in all honesty. The way that it was written, I am not okay with them continuing to push off the Fatima moments. I like that they are trying to build a storyline for Fatima and Zach outside of Karen, especially with her leaving, and outside of one another, like with the storyline with Fatima getting more into legal things and Zach now possibly doing with Mr. Keys and possibly the mentorship. Like, I do like that, but we still be looking for what we want, which is our Fatima moments. And so let's get a phone call in, something before they go to work, something. And it's been like 3 days, but y'all been shoving all this Karen stuff down our throat. So that's just Tiffany's opinion, but I digress. Anyway, so let's get into the conversation. Let me know what you thought of the episode and the various storylines that went on this particular video. And we will get into the comments. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.